Welcome to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. I'm Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
This show features questions from the Personality Hacker community that we answer in about 10 minutes. We've been using personality types in our coaching for years, and we'd love to answer your questions about personal growth through the lens of type. You can find out more about us at personalityhacker.com. Okay, now let's hear today's question.
Hi, Joel and Antonia. My name is Katie, and I am an ISFP, and I live in West Palm Beach, Florida. And I have a question about how introverted judging functions or extroverted judging functions impact how much people assert their point of view or express their opinions. So where this comes from is, as an ISFP, I have heard and been told that ISFPs are pretty opinionated. And while I do feel like I have strong convictions and values internally, I personally don't express those to people unless I'm really close with them. And I was wondering if this had to do with the fact that my primary judging function is introverted. And on the flip side, I've noticed that people who have extroverted judging functions seem to be a lot more opinionated to me. So I was just wondering if this was, in fact, a pattern. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Katie, for the question. So I'm going to just encapsulate everything you asked in this. Are ISFPs less opinionated than other personality types?
All right. Well, I think she's really asking if being opinionated comes from our extroverted judging functions. Like in her case, as somebody with ISFP preferences, the extroverted judging function she'd be most attuned to is extroverted thinking or effectiveness.
Which is her 3-year-old or inferior mental process as an ISFP.
Exactly. And so the other extroverted judging function being extroverted feeling or harmony, which would be the preferred function of FJs. So I think that all opinions come from judging functions in general, whether they're introverted or extroverted, right? The thinking and feeling functions are where we form our should statements about the world. And so the reason why you have probably read and seen that ISFPs are opinionated is because they lead with the judging function. They lead with introverted feeling or authenticity. And anybody who leads with the judging function, so these would be all IPs and EJs in the Myers-Briggs system, they're all going to lead with a function that forms opinions, right? How are things supposed to be? Now, they all form opinions, all 4 of those functions, introverted thinking, introverted feeling, extroverted thinking, and extroverted feeling, depending upon the type. They are all forming different opinions about different things. And so there's a tendency to see the extroverted versions, the ones who are more inclined to share them and communicate them outward, as being more opinionated. But I think all 4 are highly opinionated. Just like you mentioned, I have strong opinions.
Yeah, well, I think what it is, and we talked about this on a recent podcast about the difference between judging functions, introverted versions versus extroverted versions. The extroverted versions of those judging functions, so extroverted thinking effectiveness and extroverted feeling harmony, are looking to make something happen in the outer world. And so the rest of us, when someone shows up with that energy or that function in their personality, we experience them as trying to get us on their team of seeing it the way they see it so we can do what they want us to do. Like they're trying to organize the outer world, whether it's through emotions of everybody, what we should all be kind of feeling together in the harmonious connection, or here's a project, guys, we're trying to get this done. Man, my boss is so opinionated. He wants it done a particular way. Why does he want this project done this way? He's so opinionated about this project. It's like because he has to be. He's got like you got to get everybody on the same page to have this thing happen. You're syncing up in the outer world, so it feels more assaulting, more like the opinion comes at me. It matters more. I'm like, I can't just go, well, I'm gonna go do my own thing. Like, no, you have to see it my way to be able to do this with me. Kind of energy.
Well, that's what you're talking about, how a person could feel in the energy.
Exactly.
Yeah, not that the EJ type is necessarily doing that.
But they're not intending that necessarily.
Or even doing that necessarily.
Agreed, yes, yes.
But it could feel like that to an onlooker that might be sensitive to that energy.
Yes.
So I think the other thing, I think that's true. I also think that introverted feeling, authenticity, and introverted thinking accuracy, which would be a driver or dominant for IP types, that there is a drive for expression And for introverted thinking or accuracy, it usually shows up in articulation and defining things. So they may or may not share their opinion, but they certainly have one. And if they are given the choice or the opportunity to articulate or express their opinion, they definitely will if they don't think that it's a dangerous arena. Introverted feeling or authenticity is less focused on articulation as it is general expression. So the opinion is there, the things that are important to the user is there, and there is a drive to express, but it can become less lingual. It can be a sharing of quote unquote opinion or perspective or feelings about the world, and more of an artistic expression sometimes, right? It can come out in alternative forms of expression, not just stating one's opinion. But an opinion is, these are the things that are important to me, and I want to communicate that. And so I wouldn't say that people who have ISFP preferences are any less opinionated or not expressing them. They just might be expressing them in alternative ways.
Yes.
But I think one more component comes in here, which I think is very influential in this conversation. And that is what we are calling, in like the last couple of years, I've been calling the functions not a descending order sophistication, which is what I used to call them, but a descending order of certainty. So I think the reason why we might experience EJ types or IJ types as being more opinionated or assertive with their opinions is when they're sharing them in the outside world, they have a higher degree of certainty in the opinion itself as it relates to how the world should be set up, versus somebody who has maybe an introverted judging function like an IP type or an EP type that might have strong opinions about how they feel or what they think, but they might have less certainty in how the world is going to receive their opinion. So somebody with ISFP preferences, where you have extroverted thinking or effectiveness as your 3-year-old or inferior function, that is going to be the place of the highest degree of uncertainty. So you're not uncertain about your opinion. You might be very certain about the opinion itself, but you are uncertain about how the world is going to receive it. Is this going to discredit me? Is this going to cause people to dislike me? Is this going to create conflict? And so if that function, if the one that tunes into how other people will receive it and whether or not it's like appropriate for the moment or whether or not it's going to undermine credibility, it's the extroverted judging functions that are more attuned to those kinds of things. How is it, like what kind of waves is it going to create in the outside world? If that is a place of uncertainty for you, you're going to withhold giving your opinion. Now, when an IP type either is completely unaware of their relationship to that uncertainty, and so they're just like spewing their opinions, and usually that's a younger IP that hasn't had their quote unquote hand slapped very often for sharing their opinions yet. Or if they're older and have worked through the uncertainty of it, like they know they feel uncertain when sharing, but they recognize that sharing is still important, and so they're going to do it, then they'll overcome that sense of uncertainty. They'll get to a place where they are more willing to share their opinion. Again, it might be through expression, it might be through action or art, or it might be through conversation. There's a lot of different ways of sharing an opinion. But it's really the uncertainty of how it's going to be received that throttles somebody with ISFP preferences, not a lack of the opinion to begin with. And so what's nice is that you can get to the other side of it. You can get to a more assertive place. You can get to a place where the uncertainty of that doesn't, shake your confidence in sharing as much. But it usually happens over time, and it usually happens when you find an audience that isn't going to give you immediate pushback. When you find the right people and you share your opinions with them and they hold space for them and they don't immediately attack your ideas and they don't dogpile you and they allow you to hear yourself say them out loud and express them, suddenly you gain a little bit more certainty in it. And then you're now in a laboratory of sharing. You're in a place where you hear yourself share things effectively and you hear yourself communicate them effectively, and you don't have to worry so much about the result or the impact in the outside world. And then when you take it to somebody where you do have like a less than favorable impact, well, you've had enough experiences where it was positive. You know it's not necessarily you. You know it might just be the person on the other side.
Thanks, Katie, for the question.
You can ask your own question about personality types or personal growth. Visit personalityhacker.com/questions. We also have programs designed to help you with your personal growth through the lens of personality types. Again, visit personalityhacker.com and find the program that's made just for you. My name is Joel Mark Witt.
And I'm Antonia Dodge.
Thank you for listening to 10-Minute Type Advice by Personality Hacker. We'll talk with you on the next episode.
Hey, it's Joel from Personality Hacker. So a big reason people get into personality types is usually to improve their relationships with other people. And you can understand key differences between you and someone else when you understand how type works. So clearly, personality type is applied to relationships. But what about the relationship with yourself? Well, personality type can also help you navigate your career, or maybe an educational path that you need to follow, or other opportunities that present themselves, and it helps you know which are the right choice for you. And ultimately, personality is the key to unlocking identity-level worldview and life purpose. It all starts with getting the owner's manual for your personality type. In this owner's manual, we cover the basics of your personality. And then we dive a layer deeper to connect your personality to your relationships, your career, your worldview, and identity. Because we believe it's your life, and it should be designed for your personality. So start your owner's manual journey at personalityhacker.com. When you access your owner's manual, I recommend focusing on the ideal day exercise first. Because when you start crafting your ideal day, you're being mindful about the type of lifestyle that you want. So designing a life around how you're naturally wired makes sense, and you can finally stop fighting yourself. So come discover and develop your unique personality at personalityhacker.com.